Hey, what's going on everyone? It is Nick again here at NJ's Bricks, and I hope you're all having a fine Sunday. Today we are going to look at 20 sets that I think that LEGO should make that come from some of their most popular existing licenses. In this video, I've chosen 5 of LEGO's most popular licensed themes, and I'm going to explain my ideas for 4 sets at 4 different price points in each of these IPs that I think could meet the needs of different customers and different demographics. I couldn't possibly cover every LEGO theme in this video, so I'm just going to stick to the 5 following themes. We're going to go with Star Wars, Harry Potter, superheroes, Lord of the Rings, and Disney. Those are the 5 IP that I'm going to stick to today. You'll have to catch some future videos if you want to see my ideas for some of the other themes that LEGO has. Today we're going to stick to those. Remember to like and subscribe down below if you enjoy this content. I would really appreciate it. My video about the minifigs and their characters went absolutely crazy, so anybody that saw that video, thanks, and if you haven't, go back and check that out from last week. Alright, so we should probably go over real quick the 4 different price tiers that I'm going to limit myself to that kind of help me be a bit more creative by putting some restrictions on which types of sets I can make at which price points. So the 4 I'm going to go with that I made for this video are the cheaper sets. These are in the $20 to $50 price range. They're generally more geared towards a younger audience, and they're usually more about play than display. The next tier I'm going to call the mid-tier sets. These are sets that are between $50 and $100. LEGO produces a lot of different types of sets in this range. There's some smaller display sets, there's some more intricate play-focused sets, and some general mixed brick sets also in this price range. Third tier, pricey sets, $100 to $200. These often include larger play scale sets that offer some more advanced building techniques and opportunities for older kids, and are also start to be on the cheaper end of more adult-focused sets that tend to be more for display than play. And then the last tier is $200+. These are expensive sets. These are almost exclusively geared to adults. These are your UCS sets. These are your high-end ideas, your modular buildings type of sets, your Icon series sets. They're almost exclusively geared towards adults because of their cost, obviously, and usually their build complexity as well. And though most of them are almost exclusively geared towards display, they do often carry some pretty sweet play features, such as like the roller coaster sets, the typewriter, the grand piano, and more. Alright, we're going to kick it off here with Star Wars. My cheaper set I'm proposing here is called Coaxium Exchange. It is based off of Solo, A Star Wars Story, and it's a sort of small diorama set. It would be in the same vein as the Dark Trooper Attack and the new Boarding the Tantive 4, these kind of like smaller hallway dioramas, really minifigure focused. Would finally give us the opportunity to get a Dryden Voss minifigure, one that I'd really love for Paul Bettany to get. It would feature a small interior build of the First Light with those unique window pattern going in the background, and maybe a couple little play features, let you move the figures around the scene and stuff. And obviously it's going to have that case of coaxium. It's going to come with 4 minifigures. We're going to get Dryden Voss, Tobias Beckett, Kira, and Han Solo. That's Coaxium Exchange. Going on to my mid-tier Star Wars set. This is B2EMO for $100. B2EMO instantly melted the hearts of Star Wars fans. If you watched Andor, this lovable little dog droid, B2EMO, is incredible. He's so expressive despite his like boxy nature, as like all the droids are surprisingly expressive. But B2EMO, the way his head moves up and down and tilts is just super cute. We need a buildable B2EMO. It's going to be about the same size and scale as the BB-8, the BD-1, Wally, similar, and it's also going to come with a molded B2EMO figure as well as a Marva Andor figure. It's going to cost $100 and it's going to be amazing. Moving on here, our pricey LEGO Star Wars set. This is one that I gotta believe we're actually going to get, and I would be absolutely shocked if we didn't. This is Thrawn's Chimera Star Destroyer. This is $160, so it's in the same kind of scale and price range as the Imperial Star Destroyer set from 2014 or the Imperial Light Cruiser from 2021. Those both had a bit over 1,300 pieces. This set is based obviously on its appearance in the Ahsoka series on Disney+, and as such it's going to feature some new minifigures. We're going to have a new Grand Admiral Thrawn. We're going to get all 3 Great Mothers, Enoch, and a couple of Thrawn's Night Troopers. This is going to be a really awesome set. I imagine we're going to get this one in real life, but this is one I definitely need to see LEGO make. Moving on to our last tier for Star Wars, our expensive set at $200. we're going to get a UCS Anakin's Pod Racer. Now, hear me out on this. I think LEGO miscalculated when they released the UCS Luke's Landspeeder because, I could be wrong, but I look at it like the Landspeeder is, for one, it's a really basic form and shape. It's a sardine tin, man. It's got a couple engines at the back. It doesn't have a lot of movement. It just glides low to the ground and slow. It makes cool for a playset when you can pick it up. You can actually fly it around with your hand at a little scale. That's great, but at a large scale, for display purposes, I just don't think the set worked. It didn't for me. The thing that I like about the Pod Racer is that it's such a distinct form and shape, the type of chariot style with the engines at the front connected by the cables to the body in the back. It lets you pose it on a stand in a lot of different ways that could really show action and make it look like it's moving while standing still. I think that's very appealing, so I would like to see them do a UCS-sized Anakin's Pod Racer set at the $200 price point. It would come with 3 minifigures, Anakin, obviously, a new Watto, and a Sebulba as well. 3 minifigures, Anakin, Watto, Sebulba. That is the UCS Anakin's Pod Racer, $200. That's the end of our Star Wars segment. We're going to move on to Harry Potter here, and we're going to start off with our cheaper set. This is Lupin's Classroom. I think there's something to be said for those smaller hallway-style diorama sets that I mentioned in the Star Wars section, and I think that those can translate over to the Harry Potter line, especially if you go all the way back to the original line, some of those little classroom sets that they had. I think that this new style of making a small scene like that's minifigure focused can really work in the Harry Potter line. I think it's a much better display format than the kind of nebulous, estranged furniture looking sets they have now, where it's just a bunch of disparate pieces that you have to arrange together to make a scene. I guess it gives the player, the child, a lot of autonomy in how it goes, but I just don't think it looks very good. It's really easy for kids to lose certain parts of the room, as if it was all contained in one small space like this. It'll work a lot better. So they did this set before in 2004, so it's an update on that set, 20 years in the making here. At one end of the room, we're going to have the Boggart cabinet. We're going to have that gramophone that he's playing music on in the movie. I really love that bit. And we'll have minifigures for Lupin, and also Professor Snape wearing his grandmother's clothing, of course. And then on the other end, we've got to have a Neville Longbottom, and we'll include a Ron Weasley to give him another classmate and fill out the space with a couple of desks. That's Lupin's Classroom. That's a $40 set. In our mid-tier LEGO Harry Potter set, we're going to have the Lovegood House at $100. This is a really interesting building from throughout the movie series that LEGO has yet to produce a set from. It would give us an opportunity to finally get a Xenophilius Lovegood minifigure, which I don't know how we don't have one yet. And you compare this to Attack on the Burrow, similar price point, just over 1,000 pieces for $100. This set could contain a lot of fun Easter eggs inside, of course, the Rumpet Horn, the mock bust of Rowena Ravenclaw, Luna's drawings of her friends, all those things could be in there. There's a wonderful mock I'll throw up on the screen right here from Brick Surgeon on Flickr, and that's probably a little more detailed than LEGO would do. At the $100 price point, you get an idea of what the set could look like, the kind of scale that it could be, the interior and whatnot. It would come with 4 minifigures, of course, Xenophilius, Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley. It would be really fun if it came with minifigures for Travers and Selwyn. Those are the Death Eater ministry folk that come after Zeno calls them, but I don't expect that at this price point necessarily, and those characters are not really important in the story, those specific names, but it would be cool if we got minifigures for them nonetheless. So for our pricey set here, we have Lord Voldemort and Albus Dumbledore. The same price point as the Harry and Hermione giant minifigures. I did not personally build the set, so I can't speak to the build experience, but these giant minifigures look super cool. I think that there's an audience for them. I think people like them. I don't recall seeing them on the shelves for a super long time, so either that's because people were buying them up or because they did not sell well. Some of you guys might be able to shed some light on that in the comments for me, but I think they look cool, and if they did some more intricate or interesting minifigures in this size, I think people would be all over it. The Pirate seemed like he was popular. I'd like to see them do Voldemort and Dumbledore based on these 2 minifigures here, and the same price point, which seemed very fair at $120 for a 1,700 piece set. Moving on to our expensive set in the LEGO Harry Potter category, 12 Grimmauld Place, the modular building, about $250. I know they just came out with a Grimmauld Place in 2022. However, I feel like that set really falls flat. It's great for play because it has a ton of minifigures, 9 I think, at the $120 price point, but the house itself is just so shallow. I feel like a lot of these Potter sets that are just like building facades really leave something to be desired, and when they've done better versions of them, like full modular buildings, those have been great. So I think we should get a Grimmauld Place modular building. We can include a lot of cool details inside from Order of the Phoenix. We can get some new minifigures in here, and we can offer something to LEGO Cities that honestly a lot of them are missing, which is housing. They do not have a lot of modular buildings that are like focused on housing. My girlfriend pointed this out, like, oh, there's all these places to go in your city and places to spend money and stuff, but who's going to work there? Nobody has anywhere to live. Rent must be ridiculous in these LEGO Cities because there's apartments and houses are so few and far between. So yeah, we'll put Grimmauld Place up there. Maybe they'll turn it into that would be a hot spot probably if they rented it out on Airbnb. Stay at a super dark ancestral home. I would love to see this. It would probably be in the $250 to $300 price range, I have to imagine. The minifigures that I would include, of course, Sirius and Creature are absolute must-haves. And then for ancillary figures, I would include a Mad-Eye and a Ramus, and first-time minifigures for Mundungus Fletcher. How have we not gotten a Fletch minifigure? And I think it'd be cool if we got a figure for Regulus Black. Even though physically he doesn't actually show up in the story, he's such an important part. I think it'd be cool if they gave him a minifigure. I mean, the Architect of Hogwarts never comes up, right? And they gave him a minifigure. So that's going to do it for the Potter sets, and we're going to move on to LEGO Superheroes. So for our cheaper set here in the $20 to $50 price range, at $35, right in the middle, we are going to have Captain Marvel and the Kree Attack. This is like the sister set, rather, to Captain Marvel and the Skrull Attack. I think this movie is a little unfairly maligned to some extent. I really enjoy the buddy cop aspect and the 90s of it all. I'd like to see them make one or two more sets from this movie so that we could get a couple minifigures that we have yet to see. That's 76127 Captain Marvel and the Skrull Attack is the set I referenced earlier. This set would be right about the same size and scale. You could expect a similar price point, a few more dollars by today's standards than 2019. That's at retail for $30. This little ship here that they're test flying the light engine for, I would have some new minifigures. It would have Carol Danvers, but in her United States service uniform, which would be really cool. It would have Mar-Vell, or also known as Dr. Wendy Lawson, in her service uniform, and then we would get Jude Law's Yon-Rogg in his Kree uniform as well. So I think this would be a fun, cheap set that has some nice playability for kids, can pick it up, swoosh it around, play with the ship, and some new minifigures and specific minifigures for adults to like the set as well. Moving on to the mid-tier set here, I call this one Loki's Variant Brawl, and I would absolutely love it if they would put this out. One of my most favorite moments in any of the Marvel properties is the revelation of seeing all the different Lokis that are at the Void in episode 5 of the first season of the Disney Plus show. The episode's called Journey into Mystery. Check out the show if you haven't, because it's wicked fun, and I would love to see them put out a set based on this episode so we could get a bunch of the Loki variants as minifigures. I imagine it as like the bunker that they're living in, this abandoned bowling alley. I imagine it as kind of an open room with like a wall on one side where Kid Loki's throne would sit, and then a little bit of ceiling going over that wall so you could hide that hatch in there that they get down into the room in. Then you could have a bunch of details from the room, the kiddie pool, the arcade machine, etc., etc. And I would love for it to include the following minifigures. We got our Loki, Kid Loki, Classic Loki, Boastful Loki, Alligator Loki, President Loki, and Sylvie, who doesn't show up in the fight, but if you're going to put a bunch of Loki variants in a set, it only feels right that she would be in there. Moving into our pricey set, tier number 3 here for the superheroes theme, and this is the Joker versus Batman Gotham City Chase. I considered making this one of the cheaper sets, and you could certainly scale it down and do that if you wanted to and make it simpler, include fewer minifigures, and achieve that goal, but I think this set is way more interesting at this price point. You can include a scale in the detailing that fits the scale of the scene when you're watching it. This mock up here I'll put on the screen of Joker's truck by the 11th brick is definitely the right scale that I'm thinking of. I would also like to include the SWAT truck that they're chasing, and not the full tumbler, but the Bat Pod. Included in the minifigures are the Joker, 2 of his masked henchmen, the truck driver, Batman, a regular SWAT officer, and then, of course, Jim Gordon dressed in SWAT gear. And then we'd get a first-time minifigure for Aaron Eckhart's Harvey Dent as well. Final tier here for superheroes. This is our expensive set. This is the Battle of Earth. This is a $200 set, and one of the most satisfying Lego sets that I have built recently is 76419, the Hogwarts Castle and Grounds. This micro scale build to me is just super beautiful. The level of detailing and the grandiosity of the bigger Hogwarts Castle set is impressive, but for many people like me, it's just not that practical. If you live in an apartment or a smaller house, you're not going to have space to display sets that are this big as much as you might like to, and as much as they look awesome. It's just not very practical. The same can be said about like the UCS Millennium Falcon, Star Destroyers. These sets are just gigantic. They're really hard to find somewhere to display safely. A smaller set with an equal level of detail is achievable through micro scale like this. I would love to see them do something for Marvel, so I propose here that we get the New Avengers compound in micro scale like the Hogwarts Castle, and then around the set is a bunch of details from like the actual Battle of Earth. The final battle from Avengers Endgame would be going on in micro scale, in the same way that they had the Bobaton carriage and the Durmstrang ship and the Fort Anglia and the Whomping Willow, like around the Hogwarts ground. It would be the New Avengers compound, micro scale, with the final battle going on. I think it would have a slightly bigger surface area and potentially piece count than the Hogwarts Castle, which is why I think that it's possible it would have to price up a bit, but maybe not. You might be able to build this set in a really satisfying way for around the $160, $170 price point as well. But I would love to see this. I think this would be an amazing way for them to do a huge battle scene to really represent that, instead of the tiny little fragmented sets that they've put out at like a price point you can stomach and a size that you can tangibly display in your house. Alright, moving to our fourth and second to last theme here, we're going to do Lord of the Rings. So at our cheaper price point here, this is a very simple set, but a very lovely set. It is Smeagol and Deagol Fishing Adventure for $20. Anyone who's familiar with the story of the One Ring, of course, is going to know how it came to be in Gollum's possession. You know, once upon a time, two hobbits, Smeagol and his brother Deagol, were fishing when Deagol fell overboard and he found the ring in the river. Smeagol became corrupted by it and eventually killed his brother and took the ring, and then warped into Gollum over centuries, becoming corrupted by the ring. So this set would include minifigures of both brothers, obviously, a boat, some fishing rods, probably some fish, and a couple other bits of scenery, and the One Ring. And I think it'd be a cool way to get two unique minifigures and have a fun little play set that you could even incorporate into other scenes as well. Our mid-tier set here is Mount Doom diorama at $80. I think LEGO would do really well to port the display-forward diorama aesthetic from the Star Wars line over to Lord of the Rings. The vast majority of the Loader and the Hobbit sets that I've noticed are like really kind of more like the Potter sets. They're really more play forward with different features you can move around and arrange as you see fit to make a scene, which like I get, but there's so many older fans of these properties that I think they would do well to put out some more display focused sets in Lord of the Rings. So this would be one that would do that. A close-up diorama of the top of Mount Doom. You could have some really cool, clever rock work and building techniques going on with some different orange and red and yellow tiles to make up the lava. It would come with 3 minifigures, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, and if they wanted to be real cool about it, it would come with 5 minifigures, and we would also get Elrond and Isildur for the first time, so that you could swap them out with the other 3 and make whichever ring scene on Mount Doom that you wanted. Our third set here, this is our pricey set in the Lord of the Rings line. This is the Prancing Pony at $180. The Prancing Pony is one of the cooler locations throughout the original films, a pivotal stop on the journey for the hobbits in the Fellowship of the Ring. They discover both Strider and Pints, so a very big day for these guys. I imagine this set is kind of in the scale and level of detail as the medieval blacksmith shop, with a bit of inner detailing in the pub and perhaps the sleeping area. It would include minifigures for all 4 hobbits, Aragorn dressed as Strider, the innkeeper, and a Nazgul on his horse. Lastly, our expensive set in the LEGO Lord of the Rings line here is the Battle of Helm's Deep, a $400 Helm's Deep set. Now listen, I know you're like, they've made a Helm's Deep set before, but go back and look at it, man. It's a measly 1,300 pieces. It's only got 8 minifigures. How are you going to do a Battle of Helm's Deep at 8 minifigures? Now, I'm sure you can go online and look up mocks for this right now. People have made huge ones. we're not going to get like too out of hand here. But I'm thinking somewhere in the size and scale of the Lion Knights Castle 10305. This is a set that's 4,500 pieces and has 22 minifigures. Now, if we could get a Helm's Deep set at that scale with all the proper hero figures and 10 to 12 orc figures, that would be amazing. I think that if they're going to make another big display set a la Rivendell for Lord of the Rings, you know, in a magnificent scale, it's going to have to be Helm's Deep. That's going to do it for our Lord of the Rings portion, and we're going to move into our last area here. This is Disney. So for our cheaper set here, we're going to do some BrickHeads, 2 BrickHead pairings, both from Toy Story. We're going to do Rex and Ham as one pairing, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head as another pairing. If you aren't familiar with BrickHeads, they're basically like Lego's version of a Funko Pop, or, you know, a vinyl figure, a small display kind of figure with a funny head. And they're pretty fun. They're pretty cheap. They make fun gifts, they're good for kids, adults like to display them as well, and they've only ever done Buzz Lightyear and Woody and Bo Peep from the Toy Story line. I think they need to do a few more, so I'd like to see these 2 pairings. $15 for either pair. You're going to get Ham and Rex in one set, you're going to get Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head in the other set. So for our mid-tier set here at $55, we're going to get Boo's Door from Monsters Incorporated. I can't believe they've never done a Monsters Incorporated set before in Lego. I don't know if different Pixar movies are like licensed to different like model makers or brick makers, or like there's toy things going on, or if it just never came up internally, or if they tried and for whatever reason they couldn't get it. But they have so many other Pixar sets that you'd think that they would have done some of these movies that we've missed. So I want Boo's Door here from Monsters Inc. $55. The set doesn't have to be all that complicated, but I suspect it would be a bit more expensive than the piece count would indicate, because you would have some new unique molded figures. In my experience looking at prices of some of the Disney sets, between the licensing and the inclusion of some complicated or newer exclusive molded pieces, they can usually be a little bit more expensive than they might seem. So this would be a fun little display set, and it would primarily serve the purpose of giving us some amazing figures in Boo, and then molded figures of Sully, Mike Wazowski, and Randall. I would love this set. I love Monsters Inc. Boo's Door, a smash at $55. Moving on to our pricey set. I know I've included a set at this price in the mid-tier. It's obviously right on the bubble, but this is another $100 set. This is Yzma's Palace from The Emperor's New Groove, another one of my absolute favorite animated films of all time, and some of my favorite characters and voice actors showing up in Emperor's New Groove. I think it's a crime that they haven't ever made a set based on this movie, so I'd love to see a set that's based around Yzma's Palace, because it shows up at the beginning of the movie, it shows up at the end of the movie, and all of our characters are seen in this space at different times. It could include the dining table area, the throne, and of course the room with all the vials and the potions, the poison, Kuzco's poison, the poison chosen specifically for Kuzco. It would come with minifigures for Yzma, Kuzco in human form, Pacha, Kronk, and as well as a molded Llama Kuzco figure, of course. Could you do this set for cheaper? You probably could. It would depend on how much detail that you want to add, but given the new custom mold for Kuzco and putting some decent level of detailing in there, you're probably approaching $100. And for our last set here of the video, our expensive Disney set from my favorite Pixar film, it is Gusteau's Restaurant as a corner modular building. From Ratatouille, the set would come in probably around $250 to $275. I think Gusteau's is a perfect opportunity to add another great corner modular to the lineup while adding some spicy Pixar flavor to your city. We've never gotten a Ratatouille base set. Give me Gusteau's as a full corner modular building. You can get a better look at it actually in the Cars version. I'll show you above Gusteau's, which is kind of funny. It's just so dark in the actual movie when they show the facades of the building, but it's a beautiful architectural building. It would make a great modular. I'm sure some people out there have done mocks of it before. You can do a couple of floors with the restaurant details and then maybe an apartment on the 3rd floor. You could base it on Linguini's apartment, although I know it's not canon, like he doesn't live above the restaurant, but still I think that'd be cool. For minifigures, you're going to get Linguini, of course, Colette, Anton Ego, Skinner, Gusteau's Ghost, and a molded Remy figure as well. So that's it for this video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I had some ideas on there that sparked your interest or that you'd like to see Lego make. I think that some of these ideas are really tangible, that Lego will probably even make some of them in future, like the Thrawn ship. I think those Toy Story BrickHeads are great candidates. Some of these sets or close versions of them will eventually get made by Lego. Some of them definitely won't. At any rate, these are my ideas. I'll do some more videos in the future of sets I think Lego should make from some of their different themes, but just sticking to these 5 today. Please like and subscribe down below if you enjoyed this content. I'd really appreciate it. Check out either one of these videos. That'd be awesome, and I'll see you next time.